like it's set up the pretty good. Source 1080. I need to see what my record is. Base scaling, okay, it's 16 by 9, 1080p. Okay, good, good. Okay, good, good. I need to do some level testing there. According to my end, it looks fine. Level testing there. Test. According to my end, it looks fine. Tessie. That's showing up. Good, good. I really don't like that that is controlled by my main audio source, but I really don't want to turn it up too high on my end, because then I might hear it through. I think the only way I can do that is if I have it as an independent source, which I really don't want to do, but bam, the free YouTube Studio library. So it's not connecting as an audio source independently. So it's not connecting as an audio source independently. And I can't amp it. How fun. And I can't amp it. How fun. It wouldn't be a browser source. It wouldn't be a browser source. Let me check the properties. Based on my device, this is definitely a case by case. If I set it to another audio device. I love reinventing the wheel. So if I set it to that, what I can do is just pipe the audio to that, and then I won't have to really listen to it. Oh, Jesus Christ. So I would like to listen to it, but I have zero audio control since I can't amp it. I'd rather not have it blasting on my earphones next to me. And since Microsoft really doesn't like you running two different sound outputs at the same time, could technically run a monitor on this guy. Or at least I don't see why I couldn't run a monitor on this guy. No, because it would only be monitoring through my... whatever. Not important. Well, start off by disassembling this little rig. This is a battery that kind of somehow cracked. Or like the top main board piece that interfaces with this contacts. It's like a small PCB, it looks like. I don't know what happened to it, but it just like disintegrated. I'm guessing this battery got stuck inside the battery bay and somebody violently tried to pry it out. The battery works, but I can tell you the top piece is not in the best of shape, so it's definitely not a battery that I kind of want floating around in consoles I intend to sell. But I have no problem using it as like a test battery until it just poops out. So what I'll be doing is just sort of opening up and testing various DSi consoles. Start with this guy who looks like it was cleaned. I don't know if I'd call that cleaned. Now I know a lot of these DSIs are in really rough shape, so... Ooh, finally got it to turn on. Huh. Well, it's turning on, but for some reason the brightness setting is reset. The brightness keeps resetting. Well, other than it kind of blipping off, this could be a D-pad issue. Let me look at it. I've heard that these power boards can just go bad, and the D-pad is part of the power board. I guess my only problem is there's never really a specific reason why these D-pads go bad. It's just, or the power boards go bad, it's just they go bad. The fine thread screw, I'll put those right there. Putting the case screws in the wrong spot. So it didn't seem to be turning off when I pressed the D-pad. I'm guessing it's more just like putting pressure on the power board. These are all fine thread screws in the power board. Fantastic. I really don't like these LED diffusers in the DSIs. I don't necessarily see anything wrong. So what I'll do is just unplug it and plug it back in, and then see if that changes anything. Mainly just unplugging the ribbon cable for the button inputs. Oh, yeah, the D-pad membrane fell out. Ugh. That's gonna make it difficult to work with. That little piece is broken right above game card slot. Happens. Why the brightness keeps resetting, I don't think I've ever seen that before, but... now it seems to be working just fine, so... just resetting that cable was enough. And then as for the screens... I need to grab some rubbing alcohol. This will be kind of where I determine whether or not these screens are worth using, or if they need replacement parts, digitizer, or a lens. My syringes of alcohol going. I'm pretty sure I saw a pretty good scratch. That's odd. These DSIs have a weird problem where there's like this stuff. I don't know if it's actually growing between the lens and the LCD display, or if it's just the pure contact of the lens on the LCD display creates like this. I really don't know what to call it. You can kind of see it right there. Now, I've only ever seen this on DSIs, not on XLs, so I'm not really sure why they do that. I do kind of want to look at it under a microscope, though. Because one theory is fungus is actually growing underneath the screen. Which doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. That doesn't really look like fungus. It looks more like just like dust. But I think I remember taking one of these lenses off and sort of determining like, yeah, it was on the lens, whatever it is. Where's my focus point? Well, there's a hair. Turn on some light. It's even hard to see when I have it shaded. Let me turn so my main lights are on it. It just looks like dust. Yeah, I don't know. You can only ever see it when the console's off. But this is something that I've only ever seen in DSIs. So yeah, there's a good scratch right there. There's also a black dot on the top of this LCD display, so chances are I'm just not going to be able to use it. The bottom screen has some mild yellowing. The digitizer itself I might be able to use. digitizer is not in the best of shape. I do see a scratch. Yeah, it'll just be better just to replace it. X just signifying that the surface that I have the X on needs to be replaced. Or that it's not good. In the case of the top screen, which I'm not going to keep, that's just telling me that, yeah, this lens isn't good. So neither is the LCD, so don't bother. I do harvest the speakers off of the screen, but that's really about it. So now I can get ahead and yeah, maybe. From what I understand, there isn't any glue there. Those lenses are only ever being held on the outer perimeter of the screen. Because underneath, or on the LCD display itself, there's a perimeter of double-sided tape. So there shouldn't be any glue actually between the lens and the LCD, but I don't know. It could be possible, like, if this is maybe in the first, like, batch of DSIs, that's what Nintendo did, and maybe they're like, oh crap, it's causing this effect, and then they stopped. Because I don't see it on the DSi XLs, which I believe came out quite a bit later, after the DSIs. So what the actual reason is, I'm not really sure. I haven't really figured out what I want to do with them yet. Because I have a couple consoles that are like that, or a couple screens that are like that, where the screen lenses themselves are in pretty good shape, but they have that, like, particle or fungus or something growing on it. Be it dust or whatever. Put that motherboard aside. So this one I said had mild yellowing, but otherwise good. Hopefully these notes will help me match screens a little better, just based on the notes on the back. And if my running experiment is anything to go off of, mild yellowing can be reversed. So, hopefully that is true. Wi-Fi card back on the board. Set that aside. I need to stick it in my records. I can remove all the face buttons and chuck them in my little bag to be cleaned. Hey, power button. Let's get these screw covers off. This needle is a little thicker than the one I had before. I broke my other needle last night. It looks like it'll do fine. Gotta get under that little piece of silver double-sided tape, and the screw covers just pop right off. Since that one's already stuck to my finger, I can go ahead and unstick from my finger. Let's go. There you go. Didn't get under the sticker on this one, but I'll be fine. Haven't quite determined if it matters yet. Hey now, come on. There you go, little LED diffuser. I don't really have a good space for this stuff. Okay. Wi-Fi antenna. This next console I'm gonna take apart is on the way of my pile. Got the microphone. Speaker grills. Punch out the hinge mechanism. I need to kind of unroute these speakers a little more. I will put white dot. And then I need to sort of pop out the front-facing camera. Should be ready to start taking this apart. Ooh. I need this little metal ring to be sitting in the upper shell piece. There we go. I don't really care too much about this screen, but always good practice. That nice and coiled, stuck in the metal ring. Now the DSIs have quite a bit of adhesive around them, especially right here on the bottom. Gee willikers. If 4 screws and plastic clips weren't enough to keep this screen in, the adhesive would do the job. Voila. Get the shell mildly back together. Cameras away from the speaker. I assume the cameras are fine. I'll put my bad screen in my bad screen pile. Oh, there's a spider that fell in one of my LCD boxes. What are you doing in there, little feller? Well, now I'm on a journey to save this little guy. Alright, so these are my good LCD's bad lens box. Where'd you go? I don't want to squish you. I think I saw you go in between these screens. I mean you no harm, I come in peace. Oh, there you are. Oh, he maybe came in. There's a hole on this corner of this box. Uh-oh, don't want to squish you either. Oh, hello. You're climbing the walls. No, you're not. Maybe I didn't see him skitter away. Huh. Oh, one such as I supposes it found its way out. Well, good, I'm proud of it. Anyway, I'll get these screens back into my box. Not sure where that spider went. Oh well, it'll show up eventually. I'll just be careful when I'm grabbing these screen piles. Not all too interested in getting bit. Oh, there he is. He fell right on my keyboard. I have a container? Thinking. Probably not. But it's full of water. On, little feller. Last place I want use a keyboard. Now, I am not familiar with you. You are quite the looker. Do not go under my keyboard keys. You don't want to be under there. I think it's best just to send you on your happy trail. Goodbye, spider. I don't have a container for you. Good luck and have a nice evening. Okay, he went to a place I won't squish him. Anyway. I'll go ahead and put this back together. I'm gonna remove the components from down here. I really don't like how Nintendo did these shoulder buttons. They're a little too fragile for my taste. I can put them over here. There's also an extra screw down here. As well as this removable battery plate. Share a serial number with a console. So I have to match them. And it's possible that the volume issue, or the brightness issue I was having was because of this ribbon cable. That is not a problem I'm going to worry about right now. Make sure all the components that fell out are here. We got 2 springs, 2 pivots, 2 screw tension. Okay, just put these over here. Grab the pieces I'm gonna clean. The pieces I'm not gonna clean can go over there. I also don't like how they did the volume button. It's more of a rocker. As far as I can tell, I can't remove it from the little rubber membrane without actually breaking it. But I'll do what I can. Stick that shell in a cleaning pile, put these buttons in my little bag for cleaning. Put this ribbon over there. Now this next one I'm rather excited to work on. It's my Pokemon White one that I got as a part of a lot. I'm gonna have to be really careful with this one, not only because this top shell piece is custom, but there's also Pokemon Company markings on this bottom shell too. So if I remember correctly, the only problem with this is both screens are just toast. Hello? Yeah, there's something up with the top screen. I don't know. It's gonna be kind of hard to see, but it almost looks like there's like road rash on the LCD itself. There's also just like specks. To me, it looks like that's under the LCD itself, not on the, or not underneath the lens. The bottom screen looks okay, all things considered. It is a little scratched up. I might grab a new digitizer for it. Yeah, and the top screen has some pretty good gashes right up here. So I do almost kind of want to do something special for this. I know it does, this Pokemon White version is only ever completely white. I kind of want to test and see what it kind of looks like by doing like a half white, half black console. Because both of the legendaries are on there. It's definitely something I wanted to try out to see how it looks. Because either way, I kind of want to replace that face piece, because that piece around the D-pad is broken. Which, I've seen this very often on these DSIs. I don't know if just the plastic around there is much thinner, and then on the DSi XL they figured that was a problem and thickened them up, I suppose, or went with just slightly thicker plastic to make it a little more durable. But I see that a little more often than I would really like to. But I'm being careful on this Pokemon White one, not only because it's a special edition, but I'm probably going to make this one my personal one, because I think it's kind of neat. And I really like the white DSIs. Not so much the white DSi XLs, because the XLs are more of a cream color, and no bueno. I'm thinking I haven't really done much cleaning on these DSi shells, but these DSi shells seem to resist dirt a lot better than the XL shells do. Where the white XL shell will just get like visibly dirty. And I have to get a magic eraser on it just to take it off, and I really don't like using a magic eraser. I don't have to, but okay, all coarse threaded silver screws. So this motherboard's fine, I had no problem with it. The only problem here were the screens, which I think the bottom screen is okay. The top screen has... I'm not really exactly sure what I was looking at with the top screen. So I'll go ahead and assemble it. Remembering the D-pad fell out. Just trying to keep an eye out for any markings that might distinguish it from a normal white DSi, which I think it might just be the top shell piece and bottom shell piece. Top and outer, both outer shell pieces, I should say. Yeah, it does kind of make sense that it would break, because the plastic does get a lot thinner. I'm not really sure how that effect is. I don't know how people do that, though. Either they're like really going hard on these consoles or something. So I'll say this one's good. Digitizer needs replacing, but that's... I have a box for that. Start separating these pieces. Face buttons into my bag. This is a coarse threaded screw. These white buttons don't seem to be anything special. Neither do the two face shell pieces. They might just be standard, it's just those two outer shell pieces that are special. Which means I have a little bit of play to do what I want in regards to sort of making it like a black-white console. It would be kind of cool to get the Pokemon Black Special Edition and then kind of make an inverse of what I'm gonna try doing here in a second. But I think I was able to get this Pokemon White console either because nobody wanted to buy a lot of consoles in order to get it, or nobody saw it. I didn't even know it was there until it arrived. I was looking through them, I'm like, oh, holy crap. Because it's very fair to say that these special edition consoles are not that cheap. If I chose to sell it, I could probably get a pretty good profit off of it, but I think it's cool, so I might keep it. I'd much rather play on a DSi XL, but if I need something small that I can shove in my pocket, I can always go with a DSi. Ooh. Give me a little bit of resistance. Fortunate, because that will usually mean that the top screen LCD is a little fused, or is fused to the rubber back plating for the top screen, the sort of like cushioning pad. Either it's by heat or by rust. I think it just fuses. It can be a little rough to it because this console is obviously not in the best shape. It's not pristine. I will try and be careful with it. I really don't want to do what I need to do. There's not really easy ways to take this off without being kind of brutish. If it is actually fused. Usually being brutish is pretty hard on the shell. Basically, I have to kind of wedge it up and then I'll pop it off of these channels to try and make sure I don't accidentally break any of these clips. I knew that this was going to be a special edition console and that it was not going to be easy, because why would it be? Something was going to go wrong. Just waiting for whatever is about to go wrong. Which this is already kind of frustrating to deal with. Usually I only have to deal with this on really rusty consoles, so... At this point, I just wish I could just rip the screen out without harming the shell, because I don't care about the screen anymore. It's not wanting to pop off the clips. I'm not really sure why. I don't like doing it on that side because that's the side that has the ribbons on it. This side's a lot less risky. I'm making pry marks. I don't like doing that. Okay. Needed some downward pressure on it. And then kind of ideally, once I pop these clips off, I should be able to slide a pry tool underneath the LCD and just loosen it up so I can get my I can get this thing apart without breaking any of these clips, ideally. I am trying to do a little better to preserve this console. I will try and see if I can just pop the screen off completely, which it looks like I will. I don't care about the top screen or the camera or any other components in there. I have plenty of replacements. So now that I have a good pry tool in there, I'll try and pop the clips off on this side. I gotta worry about the clips on the top of the screen. What I might end up doing instead is just going the sort of nuclear route and just dribbling a shitload of IPA under there. Loosen up that LCD, or loosen up the adhesive that's sticking the two pieces together. So ideally that I can just slide these apart like normal. That will destroy the top screen, but again, it's already gone. I don't care much about it. And there we go. Just double check the clips. Alright, looks like that survived. Cool. So yeah, you can see all this black on the back of the screen. It's the LCD itself just fusing to this, like, rubber pad. I'm guessing it's just due to heat, but I actually don't know. So, neato. The other components should be okay. If I damage the camera units, it's fine. The screen's already done with. There's beyond saving. And now that I just drenched it in IPA, it is most definitely gone now. That is fine, because all of these components, that is the one I don't care about. Everything else should be fine. Speakers don't mind getting wet a little. Let me take this apart as normal. Usually the cameras, I'm pretty sure usually the cameras survive. I don't really care too much about the cameras on the DSi, they're not that great. Some people do, but it's not for me to judge. Snap that adhesive pad off. Wiggle, wiggle. Camera is still holding on. Thank goodness. Came off relatively painlessly. Go ahead and write busted on this. Put that in my busted box. I'll have to harvest all of the speakers off of those at a later time. LED diffuser. Ring. Now what I was kind of thinking with this console, sort of doing a black-white aesthetic. Probably not with this black shell, because, well, maybe. I'm not really too concerned about cosmetic damage, as long as I don't notice it. And then putting black on it. Interesting. I could do like black buttons, black screw covers. And then I was thinking of doing black button. And I could do like almost a mix of black and white buttons. I guess the buttons themselves don't really matter because I'm not really setting this up. Do like that configuration or BBYX. A white and a black start button. Probably a white D-pad. And of course the power button's always a plasticky color. It'd definitely be unique. I kind of like that, but either way these need to be cleaned. So I'll just keep the shells together as they are and then sort of go from there. Especially if I want to keep this as my personal one, I can do kind of whatever I want with it. Let's get this back apart. I'll get all the hardware out of the... Get all the hardware out of the bottom shell. Now these match. Just put a little black dot on it just to make sure that... Ooh, that's also broken. I can glue that. That's another piece I see broken fairly often on these DSIs. Just that little piece above the game card slot. Just... Don't know if it's because of a drop or trying to get the DSI cards in and out. Looks like there was a little bit of rust up there. Wonderful. Really difficult to take out. Means I'm gonna have to manually replace that button to get to putting this thing back together. That's always fun. That button's nice and rusted out. Yeah, well actually I can't really say that. It might still work just fine, I just have to get that rust off of it. It's really hard to tell until I actually test the button. Like the spring is okay, a little bit of light rust on it, but that can be brushed off. Grab all the pieces I need. All the hardware fell out of the back shell. Perfect. That's in my pile of cleaning. There's this blue one that's mostly gutted already for some reason. Do this one later, I think. Look at this black one. The bottom shell's been removed. Ooh. Turning on. Guessing there's going to be things unplugged. The volume rocker's missing. Power board isn't plugged in all the way. Just try that. Bottom screen flash. Wow. Bottom screen just has this like amber color to it. Let me actually look. It might just be rusted. A little hard to say for right now, but let's just see what we got here. These are coarse thread black screws. Screw missing right there, so I'm guessing this console was probably assembled from junk parts and sold. Yay. If the motherboard's good and the shell's good, then that's really worth my money. Screens are less important. They are important, but I do have replacements. I didn't see the top screen flash at all, so I'm guessing both screens are probably dead. Almost forgot the screw. Fine thread, motherboard screw. Who would have guessed it? Completely rusted. Top screen, ooh, has a lot of marks on this. Yeah, this poor console is taken apart quite a few times, probably. I'm guessing this top screen ribbon is probably torn somewhere. Ooh, even this Wi-Fi card's a little rusted out. Might be okay. I just have to wipe it off real good. Maybe put a layer of Kapton tape on the little metal shielding on the motherboard. I'll just proceed to disassemble with normal, and then I'll put a sort of little test bench together to see what's going on. The bottom screen was trying to boot. I'm guessing it's rusted out, so it's a garbage screen. I would also assume the top screen is torn. Here it is. Ooh, that alcohol. Check on my phone battery. 60%. Probably do one more console after this, and then I'm gonna go probably find something to eat. These consoles have been coming apart pretty good. Nothing really crazy has been popping up. Kind of unfortunate because I know I learn a lot more from consoles that are a little more finicky than just, oh, this one has a bad screen or what have you, but ones that have bad screens give me a good console to sell because they're usually in pretty good shape otherwise. Like this black console, all things considered, isn't in that bad a shape. It is of course scratched up here, but This is a console geared or aimed at a very young market, and one that is definitely went into and out of pockets many, many, many times. This has a matte finish, so I think you can... I don't think scratches look that bad on a matte surface. I'm not familiar with that sticker. Wonder if this was repaired by a shop. I don't really see any evidence to suggest that, but... well, other than it being taken apart to the motherboard level, it doesn't look like this top screen was ever taken apart. I don't have any reason to believe it was, at least. I just don't ever remember seeing these stickers on OEM screens. Okay, we're getting ready to pop the lens off. Not the lens, but the edge. Neato, the metal ring stuck to the top shell portion. So now I can just do that little number. I have to kind of look. I'm guessing this thing is torn. There's some damage around. Adhesive. Right, let's look at this top screen. Yeah, okay, I think I might see it. Let me grab my microscope. Probably set up another scene for my microscope so it's not just like jarring. Yeah, that might be it right there. Actually, I don't think it damaged that trace, did it? It's like... huh. Trace might still be intact. I probably doubt it, but... let me just look through the rest of this ribbon cable. I did see some, like... I'm at an awful part. Over a little. I did see some, like, wrinkling right here, which is always kind of concerning. It might be okay. Surprisingly. So, like, the edges of the ribbon cable, or like a chunk of it came off. I'm guessing that trace is torn. It's either that or it's right in here that it was damaged. Because these outer traces have this buffer on it of like a few millimeters of tape. These inner traces don't. At least they're much thinner. And of course there's very thin traces on these outer ones. So if any of these were to be snapped, which I think it is right there, I'm guessing it's this trace right here. And since I know this screen will probably never boot again, go ahead and sort of confirm that violently. I don't know, I'm not really convinced that's torn, but the screen didn't boot. I'll try it again before I do anything too violent, but yeah. Now, usually I don't detect any problems on, like, the main body of the ribbon cable. Like, there are the instances where there's a hole punched in the middle of it, but I find that to be far less common than just, like, a small like a tear that looks something like that. Oh, maybe that's it right there. Yeah, I think that might be it. Huh. Zooming in. Yeah, you can see that just tiny little tear. That's all it takes. One little tear on the outer trace and this entire screen is dead. Why when I put these screens together I reinforced these ribbon cables with Kapton tape. It almost doesn't look like it tore the trace though. It looks like it ripped up to the trace. Didn't actually go through. Huh, maybe this outer trace has seen some very scary run-ins with tearing. I'm gonna assume one of those traces are just fouled, so there's really none of what I'm doing is matters. Let me grab a known good bottom screen. I'm guessing the sticker was so this is a third-party top screen. That's the only thing I can think of. Okay. Yeah. So bottom screen flashing, top screen not doing anything. One of those traces are actually torn. I can't really determine it. There are a few concerning spots along that ribbon cable. Even just the concerning spots alone are not worth me investing much time in, because that's very scary, and obviously one of those is torn. I will try a different motherboard just on the off chance that it's a motherboard problem, but though I've never seen motherboards producing that issue. I'll just try and cover my bases here. This is a known good motherboard with a known good bottom screen. This will say definitively that that top screen is indeed torn, even if I couldn't exactly determine it. There were points of concern along that ribbon cable, but nothing that was like, oh yeah, that's a tear. There are tears, but nothing that's gone through traces. I have no reason to believe that it's a motherboard problem, but this is just... yeah, it's just nothing different. So this one's torn somewhere along the ribbon cable. For the lens, I might be able to reuse this lens. There is kind of a concerning scratch right there. There are some micro scratches on it, but if you can't see them when the console's on, I'm not too worried about them. Now this bottom screen that I'm expecting to be bad. So what I'll do is grab a known, well, I wouldn't say it's a known good top screen, but a top screen that boots, which is all I really need. Oh my god. Like, yeah, the top screen's busted. This is wild. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. This is a known good motherboard. Obviously, yeah, this bottom screen is just... My god, is it bad. Let's call it rust. Wow. Bad rust. I could just leave it as bad rust. I could probably reuse this digitizer. It's gonna need to be cleaned really good, but... So now what I need to do is test that motherboard. Grab my known good bottom screen again. Come on, little backlight connector. You know you want to go in. There you go. Motherboard has no issues. Hey, Four Swords Adventure, or Four Swords Anniversary. Nice. This one has the 3DS transfer tool, so it's running 1.4.5. 1.4.3. Ooh. Neat. So I wonder if the 3DS transfer tool wasn't limited per software version. I'm actually not that familiar with that. Motherboard works. I expected it. It looked fine. There has to be some, like, pretty whack water damage for these things to go bad. Had one last night that was pretty well corroded. The power management chip was missing, like, 5 or 6 legs, so poor thing wouldn't even turn on. Just junked it at that point. Okay, I'll get the shell back together, remove the hardware of the bottom screen, or bottom shell. Oh, wow. Help if I took the hinge mechanism out. Ugh. Oh, goodness gracious, that one probably needs to be cleaned. They usually just fall out. I don't have to yank them out like that. Let me double check. Yeah, there is matching serial numbers, even though this bottom serial number is fading. I could probably just peel that sticker off. I will have to eventually take apart my current personal DSi. Mainly because I was a dum-dum and played around with the mechanism for the game card slot, so when I slot games in, it doesn't lock in very well. Or it's mainly more audio than anything. Like, it just, when you click it in, it just sounds weird. You don't get that really satisfying click. It really is just... It's just more audio cue than anything. It works fine otherwise, but that kind of bugs me. I do have game card slots I could replace it with, but really all I need to replace is the little metal housing. That's where the mechanism lies. Or at least the piece that I'm worried about. This part looks like it got some goo or something in it. Just this SD card slot flap is just pasted down. I guess it's not that bad. It's got a little bit of goober on it. And then the volume rocker was just gone. I don't really know how. Like, you have to very intentionally pop those out. They don't just fall out. But obviously this console was worked on to some degree. Or just filled with garbage parts and sold. Which is somewhat likely. But that's fine. Because I got a good shell out of it. And OEM shells, as far as I'm concerned, are well worth the upfront cost, especially if they're intact and in not that bad shape, because these always feel a lot better. Just maybe just by touch, they just feel a lot better than third parties. You know what, I'm kind of doing black and whites. I'm going to see if I can find another black one. Well, I say that as though I need to hunt, but I have a giant box of DSIs that I need to probe through. So, this guy's in really good shape. No presents. Screens are a bit concerning. Top screen flashing. That's not often that you see that. So top screen flashing is there's something on the bottom screen that's wrong. Console's attempting to boot, it sees it can't send a backlight signal, or the backlight signal isn't being received, or the circuit between the bottom screen isn't being completed, so console isn't booting. I really don't like... This is where I broke my needle yesterday. It's kind of a violent procedure, but the only way I know to take these out. But this back shell's in really good shape. Fine thread. Hey. You get off there. Put a dot there to tell myself that I have a shoulder button ribbon and a shell number that's the same. I do see rust. That might be the whole problem. Wonderful. So let me get these. These are fine thread black screws. I'm going to try and wipe this one off. This one has rust on it. It's basically fired a little bit of rubbing alcohol over here and then just rub these screws down on it. Just a little bit of surface rust. I don't have to worry about those being stripped. But I can tell from the side that these are... this is a rust problem. Water damage indicator is tripped on the motherboard as well. So I'm going to have to give this console a good look over. Water damage indicator being the little purple sticker, or the pink sticker down there. Very mild, like whatever got in here wasn't that much liquid, or dried up pretty quickly. there's just a very tiny bit of rust right on the top of this metal shielding for the CPU, I believe. Yeah, that would make sense because that's the NAND flash, the power management. Everything's removed. I'll go ahead and now I don't need the LCD. I'm pretty sure I don't need the LCD for it to boot. I just need the backlight for it to boot. My guess is rust. Ooh, I need to unplug the microphone. Yep, a little bit of rust. Motherboard looks fine though. The rust will wipe off. You can see. So I'm guessing that this is just rust. I wouldn't use this even if it did boot. Rust. I'll have to look through these bottom screens as some of these might have good digitizers. So this is a bottom screen that's yellowed. I'm just putting it in there because it's going to be in contact with rust. I don't want to put a good screen in there until I clean this shell. I just need to know what the motherboard does and the condition of the top screen. Again, I don't see anything wrong. Whatever fluid was accidentally spilt in, it looks like the touchscreen took the brunt of it. Or the bottom LCD screen took a brunt of it. Like there's a little bit of rust here on the sides, but nothing crazy. It can get very, very bad very, very quickly. Ooh. Yeah, that top screen's bad. But motherboard works fine. Which, thankfully, the motherboard is, I would say, probably the most important part. I guess I could source motherboards, but kind of easier for me to just have them on hand and buy any parts I need. It makes for more interesting fixes if I have to replace components. Motherboard I don't have a problem with. This is yellowed. I'll just put that right there. Let's grab all these buttons. Yeah, even this top shell, inner shell piece is in very good shape. So I almost wonder if this console was used a little bit, stored. Or maybe it was used a little bit, the water damage happened, it stopped turning on, it was shoved in a drawer, and just left. Never played again. And I'm guessing that's why this top screen is so yellowed. Maybe it got some water damage, I'll find out here shortly. Sure is behaving like it. It's gonna be the same as my Pokemon White console where it's not gonna want to come apart. Without a fight. Darn, well, I don't like doing this, but this is my only shot. Top screen's bad, so I don't have to worry about it. I would like not to damage the shell more than I need to, but I'm really going to be fighting an uphill battle here. Grab another pry tool. Do the same thing I was doing with the white console. I really need to grab a brand new pry tool because this one I broke the end off of, so it's not really that sharp. Oh, do I have one kicking around? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. I guess me buying a pack of like 1,000 of them wasn't a bad idea. I'm gonna use them. Thank you, China. So basically what I'm trying to do is make an entry point that I can shove my pry tool in and adhere the back screen from the foam pad. Because I'm guessing there's a little bit of water damage up there. I'm guessing that's why that screen is in such horrible shape. Which, if that screen rusted just a little bit, it'll fuse that sort of foam pad to the metal housing. Which is very unfortunate. Now I have a void, I can shove my pry tool in to just try and just pry this LCD up. I do want to try and get this back shell off, not harm these clips more than I need to. It's kind of inevitable that I might break a couple, but I really don't like doing that if I don't have to. Sometimes I just don't really have a choice. Now that I have the whole back off, I can just come in here and just poke along the back of the LCD to get it away. I think that might have done it. So I'll try and remove this top shell housing a little more normally. Looks like it's still holding on at one spot. Come on. Almost there. Almost through this. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, this foam pad is just fused to the back of this LCD, making it just very difficult. Rust. Okay, I was able to get that off. Doesn't look like I damaged anything else. Which is super cool. Everything else up here should be just fine. The speakers, the Wi-Fi ribbon or the Wi-Fi antenna, microphone, things of that nature. Okay, pop the hinge out. Roll the ribbon cable, make sure all these components are sort of unstuck. And voila. Bad yellow. Grab these components out. Get this disassembled. Uh-oh, I see a rust on that shoulder button. That's unfortunate. Yeah, a little rust on that shoulder button. That's unfortunate. So yeah, what sucks about these DSI ones is I could separate the shoulder button ribbon from this plate. But since it's already taped down, I don't really want to. Yeah, that's quite rusty. I can replace the buttons. I know how to do so, and I have them. Not that many of them, because they're kind of a pain. Okay, did all the components come out? Usually one of the screw retention nuts will stick onto that piece. Okay, shoulder buttons, SD card slot cover, volume rocker. Those pieces I don't really clean. Those two, that. I'm missing a pivot. Oh, there it is, okay. Okay, I think I'll be good for this. That'll be it for me for now. I'm gonna go grab lunch.